You are listening to Metal and Kendall on uncontrollednoise.com. Right there, we had some new Livesay, Live and Let Rock from their latest release, Chronicles. And on the phone with me right now, we have the namesake of the band, guitarist, and we'll find out what more he has to do with the band, Livesay. We have Gregg Livesay. Greg, how are you tonight?
Very good. How are you?
I'm very good. So I'd like to start off with this new record, Chronicles. First off, from what I understand, it seems to be a couple of the songs you had previously released on your other three albums, and then maybe some unreleased tracks. So, can we start off with you kind of describing this album and how it came to be and what's on it?
Well, basically, it's a compilation record of just the first of our three CDs that we did. And what we did was we selected the best three songs off of each, plus we included two songs that were unreleased, never on an album before, and also included one additional brand new track, which features our new vocalist, drummer, and bassist. This album came about from us basically being at festivals. We were playing multiple festivals, and people were coming up to us with our older records, asking us to sign them and asking where they were available. Most of them are still available online at the website, Livesay Band Official on Facebook. But the first one is out of print. When we came back from Illinois after one particular festival, we decided that maybe we should put out a compilation record with the past material, make it easier for people to access those songs, and also for maybe the ones that didn't know about us and we passed by, they could hear what we were all about. So that's how it basically came to be.
Awesome, and I definitely see it, and I think mission accomplished because it's a great record, Chronicles, and it's cool to hear everything. So what you're saying, though, just to make sure, everything maybe remastered from those records, and just that one song was recorded?
Yes, all our tracks were remastered by the studio where we originally cut those albums by the same engineer, Paul Orofino. We recorded those albums at Millbrook Studios in upstate New York and in Dutchess County. If anybody's familiar with Daryl's house and that area, that's where Millbrook Studios is. It's in the same location. And they were remastered by Paul Orofino, who's worked with pretty much everybody in the industry. And the new song we recorded in a different studio, and that was mastered by an individual, Jeff Westlake. So that is a brand new song. So.
Okay, and what track is that?
International Man.
International Man. So it's the last track on the album here. And I could kind of tell from listening to the rest of the album, it might, it has more of a modern sound. It kind of remind me of like a Lynch Mobbish sound, like how they're getting more modernized. Did your style of writing change at all throughout, like, since the early 90s when the first album came out?
Oh, yeah. If you listen to that record, you can hear how the band transitioned from the first, second to the third. The first record that we did was back in '96, and that definitely had the melodic rock feel to it. The second album, we got a little bit heavier, a little bit darker, and the third album, we went really different. We went very progressive because at that time, the prog movement was really happening in Europe, and that's the market that we were really after, was the European market. So we got very technical with the songwriting. We wanted to show people what we could do as musicians. So there's even two instrumentals on that album. So you can definitely hear from how we sounded from a song such as Live and Let Rock to the instrumental off the third record, Aphasia. You can definitely hear a difference about how we changed the songwriters. Plus there's three different vocalists on those three different albums, and we also had to adjust our music writing to accommodate the styles of the singers that we had. So there's a definite change.
Yeah, definitely, and I noticed the change as well, but altogether, no matter the change, it's still some good melodic stuff, and I really like it, which is actually the reason I reached out to you, just to, promote this album, to promote your band, and because not a lot of people have this sound these days. But since you have the new band going right now, like new members, you recorded this one track. I mean, not to get ahead of you and what you guys are doing, but are you guys looking to do a lot more songs with the lineup currently?
Oh, absolutely. We're going to go out and we're going to support Chronicles. We have a show this Saturday with Zebra and Kingdom Come, and we're going to do a lot more. But yes, the game plan is we're going to do a brand new full-length album next year, 2019, with RFL. That's the game plan. We've already started writing for it, so that's definitely in the cards for us. Yes.
Okay. Now, when it comes to writing, are you the main writer in the band, or is it more of a group effort?
I would say that most of the music comes from Tony Stahl and myself. He's the keyboard player in the band. He and I have been collaborating together since 1996 when he first joined the band. That's basically been how the way the music has been written. He and I both have recording software in our houses. You know, we'll trade ideas back and forth, and then we just bring them down to the room and flesh them out with the rest of the guys. As far as the lyrics go, that's always been left up to the singers in the band, with the exception of, I would say, the third record, which was written by my bassist, my old bass player. He was a great lyricist. So I don't write words. Tony doesn't write words. I usually leave that to somebody else, but primarily the music is Tony and I.
All right, cool. Just to get to know you as a player more, I read on your information page on Facebook that Livesay started in '91. Just to get your history with guitar playing, because I think that's a big factor. I mean, as you mentioned, you and Tony are the main songwriters. Him on keyboard, you on guitar. I think, obviously in this style of music, that's a big role. What kind of guitar experience did you have? Like, what led you up to 1991 forming the band? Like, how long did you practice? Who were your influences?
Well, I started playing guitar when I was 13 years old. I was originally a trumpet player. When I got to high school, there was no more music program, so my high school band days were over with. My dad was a guitar player. He did it recreationally. He convinced me to take up the guitar since I wasn't going to be playing horn anymore, and I took private lessons. I hated the guitar the first year. I wouldn't look at it. I didn't practice it. I had no interest in it whatsoever except for the days that I had my lessons. And it got so bad where my mom actually asked my guitar teacher, if she was wasting her time trying to give me lessons. And he convinced her not to stop. He said he's got definite natural ability with his hands, and I really believe that someday it's going to click for him. So just give it a little bit more time. And it actually did click for me. And I would say when I was about 15, then it just became everything I wanted to do was just playing the guitar. So I definitely took private lessons. I took classical lessons for 4.5 years. I was classically trained. And then I had several teachers after that. The main teacher that really changed my playing was a fellow by the name of Lou Ubriaco out of Ossining, New York. I started taking lessons with him in 1985, and he was really the only guy in our area that was teaching that what they call shredding technique, the alternate picking, all the scales, the arpeggios, all the things that you hear these guys do today that you can find on YouTube. That wasn't available back then. You had to find somebody to teach you that because there was no YouTube. There was only records. I was lucky enough to find him. I stayed with him until 1991, and he really turned my life around with teaching me everything. And I took it. Obviously, he gave me the tools, but I had to take the stuff home and work with it. And I was just like super dedicated. That's all I did was play. So that's basically my history as far as playing goes.
Yeah, and it definitely shows. And I'm sure you get this a lot, maybe get compared to Yngwie Malmsteen. Was he an influence at all?
Yngwie was definitely an influence on me. I loved, there's certain guys that really affected my life as playing. Frank Marino, Mahogany Rush was the first guy that I thought was like God on guitar. Certainly Robin Trower, Hendrix also. I didn't get Eddie Van Halen. I didn't understand what he was doing. I had no idea what he was doing, but I understood Randy Rhoads. Randy Rhoads made sense to me because he was classically influenced. He was introducing that to metal. I had taken classical lessons, so he made sense to me. Randy changed my life, and then Yngwie came along and took that even further. But you also had Uli Roth, who I listened to, who was also doing that neoclassical thing. And I've listened to countless other players. But, yeah, I mean, I've heard the comparisons. I understand it. But there's a lot more to me than just Malmsteen influence. I've listened to so many different players, from metal to jazz fusion, Alan Holdsworth, Guthrie Govan, Sean Lane, Paul Gilbert. I listen to everybody, so it's not just him.
Yeah, obviously, and those all some great players. And like, for example, for the show lined up, I always try to put like music together, and I have some Livesay, and I actually had some Robin Trower in here, and of course I have Yngwie, but all those other great classically trained guys, as you mentioned. It's all good to know. And the reason, though, I specifically mentioned Yngwie, just a little short story, is I actually saw you guys perform last year, opening up for Y&T at the same place you will be this Saturday, October 20th, opening up for Zebra. But Y&T, I saw you guys open up for them, and I was looking forward to see you guys play, because it's not often, I think, when I go to these shows that I know an opening band. I know of you guys. So when I was driving there with my dad, I was trying to just explain what kind of music you guys were, and I basically was just, comparing you guys and your playing and the music is like Yngwie, maybe even like an Alcatraz, like more AOR type stuff, but with that neoclassical playing. And we were just goofing around and joking around, and he's just like, somehow we got to the idea that no one can cover Yngwie Malmsteen. But then we get to the show, you guys are playing, and I believe the track you covered was You Don't Remember, I'll Never Forget. So that was a cool moment. And we looked at each other and like, yes, people can cover Yngwie.
Yeah, that's always been a favorite song of mine. I've never really done any of Yngwie's songs live. I mean, I've had people suggest to me, you should do Far Beyond the Sun or something like that. I just love that song. I think that time period in his career, he was really writing some great stuff, like the first 3 albums he did. Obviously, Odyssey, after his accident, I don't feel he was ever the same. I still don't think he's the same. It changed him, changed the way he plays, and which is understandable. The guy almost died, but prior to that, his stuff with Alcatraz, even Steeler, was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I never heard anybody play like that before. So that song in particular I always loved, and I said, I would really love to just cover that once. So we did do it there, and we did it out in Illinois, and people freaked out because I don't think many people do try and cover his stuff. I've seen it occasionally. I've seen some people attempt it, like Ships Are Burned. I've seen people try and do. I have seen some people do or try to do Far Beyond the Sun, but that's a toughie. So,
yeah.
But anything that he does is challenging. So I like to challenge myself. I do. I don't like to play easy stuff. I like to play stuff that makes me work. So,
yeah, that's
why I did it.
Yeah, and since I was a fan of that, I automatically took a liking to Livesay music. And that's how I describe it to anyone who hasn't heard it. Like your first self-titled album, Livesay, I just thought that reminded me so much of the production on, say, an Yngwie's Fire and Ice, and it just stuck with me, and I liked it so much. So it's great talking to you and to hear more about the band. So just to put it out there once again, your new CD is out, Chronicles. It's a great way to start with Livesay. If you missed the boat, talking with guitarist Gregg Livesay right now, it's out on RFL Records. Is that correct, Greg?
That is correct, yes.
And
yep.
How is working with that record label? Are they, do you hear good things from them? Do they push it, and do they sell the physical product, correct?
Yeah, no, they've been pushing us tremendously. They have us set up throughout Europe, Asia. As a matter of fact, I was just talking to John Mahefka today about all the hits we're getting in the UK on International Man as the single, and I'm very excited about it. John is great. He was originally a PR guy, so he knows exactly what he's doing. as far as that concerned. They are terrific people. They're hardworking. They're hungry. They're a new label, but he's a breath of fresh air in the independent label business. I can tell you after dealing with several of them. I can talk to him. The communication is great. I speak to him like every day or every other day, and he's a terrific guy. I read a lot of good things about them when I was looking for a new label after I left the one that we were with last year, and I just liked what I saw about him, and I decided to sign with him. So as far as the availability of the album, though, you can get it on all the the usual digital sites. It's iTunes, Apple Music, Amazon, anywhere that you can find CDs or digital stuff, we're on there. So it's pretty easily accessible.
Okay, great to hear. I like to see the physical product being pushed, and glad to hear it's doing well over there in Europe and everything else. So once again, Gregg Livesay, you're going to be at Poughkeepsie, New York, performing, opening up for Zebra this Saturday, October 20th. That's a great venue. I just want to say one thing about that venue. Every time I go there, I fail to hear the keyboards. I think you guys got to turn those keyboards up. Because I even saw Dear Disciples there, and I missed the legendary Scott Warren's. Scott Warren's keyboards, I just couldn't hear them. So maybe turn those up to 11.
Yeah, I definitely will. I got to tell you, I'm so glad that you actually saw us. I speak to a lot of people who interview me, and they've never seen us before. They hear the albums and stuff like that. I'm thrilled that you actually saw us in person. That's great.
Yep, and I look forward to seeing you guys once again, and it'll be good. It won't be this Saturday. I can't make it, but I'm always up there in Poughkeepsie. And hopefully you guys will open up another show, or even, I'm here down towards Wilkes-Barre, Scranton in Pennsylvania. So
have us out there. We'll come out. We travel. We travel all the time.
I'll definitely keep it in mind. So I'm going to end this out with the new track off of Chronicles, International Man. So here it is on Metal and Kendall. It is Livesay, new track, International Man.